Hi, I'm Sam from That Crafty Stitch. We are just over halfway through the first season of Game of Wool, and I'm joined by Tom Daley to talk all things knitting, crochet, and yarn barn.
Hello. Thank you for taking the time. I'm excited
You're
about this.
welcome. Yeah, me too. So, when you started knitting at the Olympics, did you ever think that you'd be now hosting a knitting and crochet competition on national TV?
Well, funnily enough, it was right before lockdown started where my coach told me that I was always on the go, never sitting still over the weekends. I was on my feet too much and I didn't come back on a Monday as rested and recovered as I should. So then my husband said to me, like, you need to try knitting because, like, and I know it sounds random, but it is something that you sitting still. It's something for you to do with your hands. It's something creative. It's an outlet that I've seen. He said he had seen actors and producers while they're waiting around, like just knitting squares or making hats or scarves, whatever it is. And you could see that the mental health benefits that they got from it and the mindfulness and all of that was so huge that you thought maybe this is a great way for a diver or an athlete to be able to switch off from everything, be really, really present, and be able to like use that to then do well in sport, which for me then became my obsession. And then all of a sudden, yeah, flash forward to the Olympics in Tokyo where I was photographed knitting, and who knew that a game of wool would have been born out of that eventually.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I also got into knitting from the mental health side of it as well. I think it just people don't actually realize how much it helps.
Yeah, it is something that is it's funny because initially it can feel really like fiddly and like, oh my gosh, how do I
Mhm.
hold this? How am I doing this? This is, and it can drive you a little bit up the wall. But it's one of those things that I've, whenever I teach anyone now or like try and get people involved, I find there's lots of different kinds of people with it. There's the people that get it immediately and
Hmm.
like they barely need any help at all. There's the people that try it once and they're like, no, that can't do it, not going to even try. And then you get the people that are like really persevere to get it. And I find the people that really persevere and they don't quite get it at the beginning, but then they figure it out, fall in love with it so deeply because it's like something they've worked hard at getting to, like a level where you can make something and you can follow a pattern, whether it's a video tutorial or a pattern. There's something that feels really rewarding about achieving something new. For me,
Yeah.
if you're a reader, I kind of liken it to reading a really fun book and then you get to the end of it and you're like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. Okay, where's my next book? Like
Yeah.
that's the same way that I feel about knitting.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's almost, I always liken it to when you learn to drive and it becomes muscle memory and you put the clutch in and
Mm,
put the brake in and you didn't even think about doing it. All of a sudden, when you're learning, you'll start doing it and you're not thinking about it. And then you get into
absolutely.
that flow state and that's where all of the endorphins start coming.
I know. And randomly now, like I don't know if you are able to like watch things. Like if I'm making and writing a pattern, like there'll be certain parts where I have to like have nothing on and I have to like
Hmm.
focus. But then if I'm knitting or crocheting and I'm just like and I know what I'm doing and it's just a matter of doing rows upon rows, it's a very random thing, but I always have like a TV show that I watch in the background. And my current one is The Walking Dead, which feels very, very odd when you're sitting
Bit
there
of a
knitting.
contrast.
Yeah, and then there's like zombies being like their heads being smashed. It's very weird. But like I always have something. Do you watch anything or
Yeah,
can
well,
you?
at the
Yeah.
moment, I'm late to the party, but I've just started watching Stranger Things.
Oh yeah.
I'm only on series two, so I've got a long way to go yet, but that's my, again, quite a contrast. So this can be a bit of a controversial topic, but which do you prefer, knitting or crochet?
Oh gosh. That I guess the nice thing is that I'm bisexual. So
Yeah.
being bisexual does help because you can I often when I design things, I like to make things that have a bit of both in it.
Hmm.
I prefer and find it easier to do ribbing with knitting. And I feel
Yeah,
like
same.
garments tend to have like a better structure when they've been knit because they
Mhm.
fall nicely. Whereas if
Yeah.
I'm crocheting them, I like to do actually similar to what you've done. You've crocheted that in stripes down and you
Yeah,
worked across.
vertically.
Yeah, see, I've made a t-shirt like that actually. So I think that the nice thing is with crochet is you can be slightly more freeform and creative with
Hmm.
it, and you can kind of be a little bit more, you can change shapes of things a little bit more a little bit easier because you can be like, okay, I know this is going to be like that and I need to increase and do this. Whereas with knitting, I think it takes a little bit more prior thought and planning to get to where you
Yeah.
need to be.
You don't always know what it's going to look like until it's off the needles.
Exactly, because it like scrunches up on the needles
Hmm.
and you don't know how it's going to look. But for me, I do think I like the repetitiveness and flow of knitting. But with crochet, I like the fact that there's something that's a little bit sturdier with it, with its
Hmm.
structure. It's a hard one to choose one, but I mean, I started knitting first, so I probably would have to say knitting.
Yeah. Crochet's a little bit faster as well.
It is faster and it does grow much quicker.
Yeah.
Like so it is. There is that, and that's where like I've always used. I started off actually. I think I've got my first ever. I'll get it. I actually this was the very first jumper that I ever knit. Right, and
Wow, you started with thin yarn.
I know, which is crazy because now you look at me, I never used the yarn. And it's probably because this one scarred me. I think the ribbing was like 4 or 4.5 millimeter needles, and
Yeah.
then the body was 5 millimeters. And it was, and of course, I didn't do a tension swatch, obviously, because it was
Of
my
course.
first time. And I was like, well, I'll just do what it tells me to do. And then when I got to the neckline, of course, I couldn't fit it on my head. So then I
Oh
had to
no.
yeah, then I had to do full surgery, like cutting, chopping, adding extra rows in. It was all a bit of a nightmare, to be honest. But I was like, now I'm looking back on this and I'm like, was a
But
lockdown project.
yeah.
It must have taken me ages. And now I kind of don't really ever. I mean, I made it my New Year's resolution this year to knit something with those, with a smaller set of needles. But whenever I'm making something in design, like I like being able to make something and have like a pattern ready quickly because
Hmm.
it's always been so far I've been a one man band with all that kind of stuff, so
Yeah,
it's
I feel
hard
yeah.
to get it all done.
Yeah, definitely. No, I understand. And I've been loving all of your outfits so far. Do you get to pick them yourself?
It's actually been really fun actually with going into Game of Wool. We were like, okay, what kind of things should we wear? And of course, with knitwear, there's the very standard, knit jumper.
Hmm.
There's, that, but it was nice to be able to show all the different things that you can do with knitting, whether it
Yeah.
is the color work, whether it's texture, whether it's all the different fibers that you can use within knitting and crochet. And well, I have two favorite outfits. One was my one from the holiday week where it was
Mhm.
like color work, but like as if I was wearing like
Yeah.
swim trunks.
Yeah.
That pink one, I love that one, and it was so comfy. And then my other favorite one is actually what I wear for the last two episodes. They're like archival Stella McCartney
Wow.
pieces. One involves mirrors, and one is like a giant I-cord loop stitch thing, and it felt like it was like a red version of the Cookie Monster. It was so big, and I think that it was nice to be able to kind of do things that people wouldn't necessarily expect from knitting. And I work with
Hmm.
my stylist James Yardley on it, and we tried on so many different knit things. We had an amazing response from so many different independent designers. There was Boy Clove, there was Drew Kent, Hope McCauley. Like, there's so many amazing people that wanted to like make something
Mm.
specifically for the show, and it was so fun to be able to wear that stuff.
Yeah, I bet.
And if we were lucky enough to get a second season, then I know people it may find the outfits distracting, but I think it's fun to be able to do fun things with knitwear and crochet.
Yeah, it kind of just shows you there's no limits to what you can create. It
Yeah,
doesn't just have to be a standard jumper or cardigan. You can get really creative with it.
if you see it and you can imagine it and you can dream it up, you can make it. And that's the
Absolutely.
amazing thing about handmade pieces is that whatever you like, if you think, oh, that could do with a tassel, oh, I wish I could knit my face onto a jumper, you can.
Yeah,
You can do it all. You can
yeah.
add texture. There's so many fun things that you can do with it. Which is great.
So let's talk about the yarn barn.
Yes.
Where is this wondrous place? Are you able to reveal?
Yes, I mean, we actually filmed in a place in Scotland and it was absolutely freezing in there. I don't know if you can tell, but we tried to like mask it really well. But
You
when we're in
can't
there,
tell.
there was the first day we walked in and you like could see like our breath. It was
Really?
it was, and I was like, oh my gosh. And obviously, some of those outfits I'm not wearing that much, and
Hmm.
so it was pretty chilly, but at the same time, it was. I mean, it was magical walking in and seeing all the yarn and all of the different, and the way that it was so comfy and cozy as well. And then the haberdashery where it was just wall to wall of yarn. It was so,
Yeah.
and all kinds of different yarns and textures and fibers. It was, I mean, it was so much fun. And, like I did, my, in between the times that I was in the yarn barn, did sneak into the haberdashery a few times to make a few things, which was always good fun.
I was going to ask if you topped up your yarn stash while you're in there.
Yeah, I was a bit like, okay, oh, I've got this project that I'm working on. Do you mind if I just grab a little bit here? And I was
Yeah.
just like grabbing it and I'm like knitting away. And it's funny because people are always like, what were you doing in between times when the knitters and were like either knitting or crochet? Like, what were you doing? And I was like, well, actually, I spent most of my time off doing my own projects. So
Yeah.
it was, yeah, which was nice. Like that was the amazing thing about the environment there. Everybody was so excited to be there. Everybody loves knitting and crochet and was so excited to be able to spend all day every day basically talking about it. And it was,
Yeah.
yeah, it was a really special time. And I'm so glad that we got to do it.
Definitely. I feel like we need a tour of the haberdashery.
Yes, we do. And I feel like there might be more of a tour of the haberdashery as the episodes go on because
Mm.
it was obviously when you start with 10 contestants
Yeah.
and you have to try and get through everything that they're doing in a 47-minute episode, it's so hard to cover absolutely everything. And, and that's the fun thing about this series. It's the first time that there's, been a knitting and crochet show like this. So there's so many things that we learned from the first time, challenges that work, challenges we want to do more of, things we want to lean more into. So there's all of these things that we're learning as we go, as what things we might be able to do next, which is exciting.
So which challenge has been your favorite so far? There's been quite a
Oh,
few. We've sort of seen everything from sofa covers to deck chairs to dog jackets, all sorts of
yeah.
different things.
I mean, I think the dog jackets were like so fun and cute.
Yeah.
Like it was really sweet and I am slightly biased. I really enjoyed and found it funny for the swimwear challenge because I got my
Yeah.
diving friends to come along for that one. But for me, I kind of like the wackier stuff. Like even like the food from last week is like
Yeah.
it's so random, but like that's the fun thing is like, you really can dream up anything with knitting and it can come to life. There is an amazing one actually, we have like a recycled and refashioned week and
Oh, cool.
and people have to make their own yarn and have to repurpose old things into new things. So that is something that I'm excited about for people to see, the things that you can make yarn out of anything essentially.
Yeah, that sounds really good. I'm
Yeah.
excited to see that one.
Mhm.
I loved the textured cardigan one as
Yeah.
well. I'm also a super chunky fan. So yeah, seeing all the different textures that have been created. I love waffle stitch, so I
Mm.
was drawn to that straight away. I thought that was great. And I also really loved the tinsel dog jacket that Dipty made. I thought the dog
Oh
one
yeah.
was really cute. And I just love dogs anyway, so any excuse to watch dogs parading in knitwear is good with me.
Yeah, I think the dog challenge might have to be a returnable one because everybody
Mhm.
likes a dog challenge.
Yeah, yeah, so cute. And you said you were knitting quite a lot in between filming. Have you been tempted to replicate any of the challenges?
I feel like next season I want to try and do like my own versions as I go each
Yeah,
week because I feel like it'll be fun to challenge myself to do that. Obviously, I wouldn't have the full, you know, 12 hours to do that because most of the time I am in there like watching and seeing what the contestants are doing. But I think it would be fun to do that and have a
mm,
little play around with it because it is so fun to be able to randomly make something up and just be like, okay, given a brief, okay, am I going to adapt this? How am I going to make this into my piece for the week? So yeah, I would love to. The texture cardigan looked really cool, and I think there's something really
yeah,
quite special about creating a piece that is all one color, yet it has so much texture and depth and intricacy in it. And I think that's something that I would definitely want to try and do one for myself.
yeah. I particularly loved the Holger and Elsa's semi-reversible situation that they created, even though it was a bit of a fluke. But I thought that was great.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things in knitting is like the creativity that comes from, oh, was it sewn back to front on
Hmm.
purpose? Was our ends being not sewn in on purpose because you want a little bit of texture and a little bit of there's so many things that within knit and crochet that you can do as a choice or sometimes as an accident when you sew it back to front.
Yeah,
But
happy accident.
it wouldn't have worked for any other challenge than a texture challenge
Yeah,
because it creates such incredible texture on the wrong sides of cables as well as the right side. And you know, if it was more of a technical specific challenge, then it wouldn't have worked to have been sewn inside out. But the fact that they did has made it like, you know, it worked for that particular challenge. You know,
yeah,
some of the other cardigans, although they had like amazing texture, it may not have didn't necessarily have as much of the wow factor to it. And you know, I loved the yellow one. If the yellow one had been executed in the way where there was no drop
yeah.
stitches, I think
I
that
know that
one,
was such a
even the,
shame.
I know, and the color was amazing.
So I'm dying to know because it's something I want to try myself to
Yes.
see how much I can actually knit in 12 hours straight. Do the contestants get a break? Do they do it all
Mm.
in one sitting? How does
Yes.
that work?
So they're not knitting for 12 hours in a row. They
Yeah.
don't get to take it home overnight. It's all kept in the yarn barn. It is kind of fun the way that it all works with TV, obviously, because you don't necessarily see that. You think, oh my gosh, are they just sitting in the yarn barn for
For
12
12
hours?
hours.
And you know, obviously everybody's wearing the same thing. So I
Yeah.
was so it's not even like showing that it's the next day. It's like we've got two 12-hour challenges and you're all going to sit there for 24 hours and knit.
Yeah.
Doesn't work like that. It is split across like 3 days. I always like to challenge myself about how much I can make, like even when I go on like a plane journey, or
Yeah.
like I'm like, okay, how can I knit a jumper on a plane ride from London to LA for a daytime flight? I have managed that before. I mean, it was a super chunky one, obviously,
Yeah.
but it's it is always fun. I kind of like. I know lots of people don't necessarily like the pressure and the time and a competition aspect, but as an
Hmm.
athlete, everything's a competition to me.
Yeah.
So going into making Game of Wall a competition format was something that is really quite. I mean, I feel like it's exciting, it's fun, and it kind of changes the dynamic a little bit of knitting, and hopefully has brought more eyes to knitting and crochet than might have initially had that in the first place.
Yeah, definitely. I think sometimes I like to set myself mini imaginary targets.
Yes,
So I'm not
exactly.
allowed to go and make a cup of tea until I reach the neckline. Or
Yes,
just, and no one's making these rules up apart from myself, but I think it just
but I
keeps
love
me
it.
going a bit faster.
It really is just like one of those like just one more row, one more row. I mean, you
Yeah.
see all these things on Instagram and TikTok where they've got like a can of soda in a jar that's got like loads of ice, and when the ice melts, they get to have their reward. It's kind of like that. It's like when you get to the neckline, you can go and have your cup of tea or
Mhm.
something.
Yeah, absolutely. So the contestants, obviously there's a little bit of healthy competition. Are they very competitive off screen?
I mean, no, yes and no. I mean, everybody like cares so much about
Mm.
knitting and crochet, and everybody wants to show their best. And I think the going into a competition like this, you you know what you can do, you know what your strengths are, you know your weaknesses, you know that certain challenges that you're going to be able to excel in or not. And the nice thing was that the atmosphere in the armband was so incredibly pleasant. Everybody was sharing knowledge. Everybody was like sharing the joy and the happiness of what knitting and crochet means to them. And that's something that I found when I first started knitting. The online community was so incredibly supportive around helping me learn so many different things and different techniques and different stitches. And I think, everybody has their own tastes when it comes to knitting and crochet, the things that the materials they like to work with, the things that they like to make, the taste that they have, whether it should be all one color, lots of different colors. Everybody has their own take on it. But what the contestants was so incredibly supportive of one another. They were so kind to each other. I mean, we have a WhatsApp group. We're always chatting in the WhatsApp group, especially every Sunday. We sit down and we're all watching it together. Everyone's chatting, and so everyone gets on really well. And I think lots of the contestants have met up after the show as well. So I think they've all made some pretty good friends for life, I think.
Yeah, it's so wholesome.
Yeah, it is so wholesome. It's so
Yeah. I've got to say, I think Holger is hilarious. His dry
yeah,
sense of humor is just amazing. And the little bromance that's sort of developed between him and Simon is
yes.
so much fun.
I know they posted a photo the other day of them two sitting at the pub knitting, which was
Yeah.
really sweet. And like, yeah, they got on. So it was like the most unlikely of friendships as well. And I think that's the amazing thing about knitting and crochet is like that kind of like fiber arts world. Everybody has this common interest, and it brings people together from so many different walks of life.
Mhm.
And I think that's what Game of Wool has been great at showing, is that there are so many different kinds of knitting. There's so many different kinds of crochet, different tastes, different backgrounds, people that like working with certain sizes of needles and hooks and working with different yarns. And I think that's great for, especially for new people that have never seen knitting or crochet before and didn't even know what was possible. So I think that's something that I'm really grateful for Channel 4 for taking that risk on, Game of War, because,
Mhm.
who'd have thought a knitting and crochet show would be like, and lots of people have watched it, which has been great. Like the
Yeah.
ratings have been amazing. And I think, yeah, of course, it's like caused a little bit of debate within the knitting and crochet world. But, it's the first time we're doing it. And I think it's a great way to kind of start getting knitting and crochet out there to people, to the masses, if you like.
Yeah, I agree. And you
It's
mentioned
not as niche anymore because of it. Like maybe it is
no,
niche. I know some people
exactly.
want to like knitting and crochet to be for them, and it's like they're the cool one sitting in the corner knitting. But like,
Hmm.
let's get everyone knitting and get
Yeah,
everyone
definitely.
crocheting. It's like the more people that knit and crochet, the more things that and creativity there is in the world.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And you mentioned about people's favorite sort of knitting needle, crochet hook size, favorite yarn weights. What would you say is your sort of preferred? Obviously, you've mentioned super chunky, but what's your
Yes.
kind of preferred techniques and hooks and needle sizes?
If I had all the time in the world, where and because I am a parent, which limits my time with being able to sit down and just knit uninterrupted. And I obviously am trying to, I have my Made with Love, where I'm trying to create patterns with the yarns that I have, and I'm the only person doing it, making the samples, writing the patterns, size grading. So it's takes a lot of time to do all of that stuff. So I tend to work with the chunkier stuff and super
Hmm.
chunky. But my favorite thing to do actually is color work with like Aran weight yarn, where it's
Yeah,
not too thin, it's not a DK, but like there's something also between like Aran and chunky where it's like, for me, I feel like a sweet spot is like 6.5 millimeter to eight
hmm,
millimeter needles, because I tend to always size up on my needles when I'm designing to kind of make things more like it's not as stiff. It's just like
yeah,
a
it's
lot
got that
more like
drape.
yeah, a little bit more drape in it. And I think that's something that I really like in my knitwear. So then it's not too hot as well. So it's a little bit more breathable. So that's what I would say. Like I like making things where you look at it and you instantly, I'm like, what is that? And you see like a story being told, whether that's in color work or whatever it may like. And I like playing with different textures as well. So
Yeah.
different yarn types and um, combining the two.
And you're doing your advent calendar knit
Knitalong.
along with the
Yes.
stocking.
Yes.
That yarn's
I
really
literally
nice.
I literally yesterday just finished the day 24 because this was
Amazing.
my
They're so
example one,
cute.
and this was the one that I did for the actual Advent knit along. So that was
Yeah.
finished yesterday. So that's all 24 days. But yeah, it's something that can be made with the yarn that I have with the Made with Love yarn, or it can be a like any chunky or any super
Yeah.
chunky yarn. Any yarn that recommends a 10 millimeter needle, honestly, will work. And it creates and it's a cute little like size stocking as well. It's like it's not too big, it's not too small. You can definitely fit some stuff
Yeah.
in it. And I just did it into like if the two balls of yarn that you if on with my yarn, you can make like two, like
Yeah.
in alternate colorways. And actually the nice thing about it is that it actually all in all, if I knit one from the beginning to end, it takes 90 minutes. So
Yeah.
it's actually super quick. Like each day is about like I timed it. Like the mini stripe days are only like 2.5 minutes of knitting, and then the bigger stripes are like like four and a half
Perfect.
minutes. So
You
it's
can make
like
them for all the family.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it is nice to be able to have like little bits, especially for a beginner. It might take a little bit of time, but it's only 30 stitches, so it's pretty quick to do 4 rows of 30
Yeah,
stitches.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, we've done a advent calendar this year. It's quite a
Yes.
heavyweight one though for a fisherman's jumper.
Oh wow. How does it work? Show me, because how does
So
it work with doing it with different sizes?
so I did one color.
Okay.
Previously, when we've done advents, we've done different colors each day, and the color was the surprise. But
Ah,
this year, I did the pattern as the surprise. So it's bottom up, and sort of like that's day one, day two, day three, day four, day five, and so on. But it's also mix and match. So there's certain days you can pick more than one envelope. So
ah,
in theory, there's about 144 potential jumper options.
wow.
Yeah,
That's so
it
cool.
it
And
took
then
months
obviously
to design.
you've done it based on size, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
So like
yeah. So it
choose your
goes
size at the
from
beginning.
XL to 3XL, I think. So
Okay.
yeah, so they obviously the customers order,
Based
whatever,
on
however much
size.
yarn that
And
they
does
they
it come
need.
as a physical calendar, or is it envelopes in the yarn?
It's in a box and there's 29 envelopes because there's a few extra ones in depending on what you choose and you get some extra freebies and stuff. So in each envelope you kind of get like the cable
So
needle for the cabling
fun.
section and so on. So it was
See,
a labor of love,
yeah. That's
definitely.
why hopefully next year I'm hoping to have a little bit more planning time to be able to do like
Yeah,
a calendar that will be fun like that.
yeah.
But we'll see.
I'm
We'll get there.
starting in January this year.
Yeah, yeah, I can
Because
imagine.
it honestly takes that long.
Yeah, it really did. I can
Yeah.
only imagine.
Who would be your dream guest judge?
There's so many amazing people in the world of knitwear. I mean, and people that knit that you would never even realize. Someone like a Michelle Obama knits. That would be. I mean,
That would
I
be
don't know if we'll be able to
amazing.
get her to Myanmar, but
You never know.
you never know. Cara Delevingne knits. Jonathan Bailey knits.
That would
Um,
be a good one.
That'll be a good one. Who else knits? I also love the knitwear design of Jonathan Anderson from.
hmm
He was with Loewe for ages, now creative director of Dior, but he does some amazing knitwear. Stella McCartney does incredible knitwear as well, all plant based. So yeah, I mean, I feel like there's so many amazing judges that we like would love to get on if we're lucky enough to get a second series, but it's you can hope.
Yeah, you don't ask, you don't get.
Exactly.
So I've got a few more questions that are more specifically around you. So you're
Yes,
originally from Plymouth.
I
Do
am.
you miss Plymouth? Is there anything you miss about it?
I miss being around my family and being able to be so
Yeah.
close to, and also being able to drive around so easily and get to and be by the water. I mean, I'm in LA and by the water, but it's not the same as, and just, there's always something so special about where you grow up, right? And
Mhm.
all the familiarities around like the places that you eat, the places that you were used to go and hang out. But I don't go back there nearly as often as I probably should, or as much as my mum would like. But I mean, Plymouth will always be home for me. It's where I
Yeah.
spent the first 18, 19 years of my life. So yeah, it holds a very special place in my heart for sure.
I was going to ask how often you get back to Devon because you could always pop by our
I
yarn
know.
shop.
Yes, exactly. I should. I mean, I probably only get back, I would say, maybe once a year. And I
Yeah.
that's really not very, but like when I come back to London, I'm coming back and doing loads of work stuff. My mum
hmm
comes up and visits me. I try to get down.
Yeah.
By the time I've done 4 hours on a train there, I get to spend like the afternoon and the next morning, and then I got to come back. So, yeah, when the kids are a little bit older and it's easier to have them travel with me, like we'll spend some more time. But for now, like I just go back for work, and then I have want to travel back as quick as I can to be with the boys. So,
Yeah,
uh,
that's totally
yeah.
understandable. Let's talk craft confessions.
Oh, okay.
So I have never knit a pair of socks, which I feel like is quite controversial for someone that runs a knitting business. Have
Mm.
you got any craft confessions?
I have knit socks. They
Okay.
did they did turn out two different sizes, but
Okay.
I knit socks. And I didn't necessarily use it in like sock weight yarn. I did it in an Aran. So they were like comfy socks. Yarn confessions. I hate weaving in ends. I know that's
Oh
probably
yeah.
not like that much of a confession. So wherever I can, I tie knots and cut if they're going to be on the inside. It's really bad.
I've done that before as well.
But like I'm just like, especially when there's so many colors and like color work, and
Mhm.
I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna cut it. I'm just going to cut it. I like I just there's I want to wear it right away. And that's often things if I'm making samples where it's for myself. If I'm making it for someone else, I'll be a little bit more diligent about
Yeah.
how I'm doing it. If I'm knitting someone else's pattern, I don't do a tension gauge, which is
Oh.
always is strongly unadvised. But I tend to measure my tension as I've started the project.
Yeah.
As soon as I have enough space to measure the tension to make sure I am on track. But I do tend to knit to a pretty consistent tension to most projects. Everyone's tension's different, so it can be a risky game to play.
That is risky.
Yeah, it is a risky game to play.
It can end up pretty bad or it can go really well. You just don't know. That's the gamble, isn't it?
Never know. You never know.
And what's your proudest crochet or knitting moment?
Oh, I would say I'm pretty proud of like the cardigan that I made during the Tokyo Olympics because it's kind of the thing that
Yeah.
started it all. And it was, I started off like making something that I wanted to be able to look back in like 20, 30 years and be like, I made that during the Olympics. And
Yeah.
uh, I mean, it turned out to be something that really felt like my superpower when it came to the Olympics because it was my way of being able to switch off from everything, stop overthinking everything, and just be really present. And I think that was something that I will forever be grateful for in terms of having the piece to look back on, but also being able to have that kind of unleash that part of me that allowed me to switch off from everything around me and have that mindfulness. And when everything was so chaotic at an Olympic Games, I could just be excited about going and finishing training competition and going and knitting.
Yeah, and it's such an iconic piece. Like as soon as you said the one at the Olympics, I can literally picture it in my head. I think,
Yeah.
a lot of people have seen that piece of
Yeah,
knitwear.
but I like making the graph for it and
Yeah.
the lion and the rings and the Team GB. It felt like it was just like I really it was something that I'll definitely remember for sure.
And do you still have it?
Oh yeah, they're right here. They hang
Amazing.
up.
Pride of place.
I've got my Paris one that I made in Paris and the one I
Yeah.
made in Tokyo, and then above it you can see my trunks hanging, and
Yeah.
those were the trunks that I wore in the competitions where I won the medals, which is
Amazing.
fun. So yeah, it's a little bit of a yeah. That's my
Like,
like pride of place area. I should actually flip the cardigan around so you see the back rather than the
yeah.
inside. But anyway,
Yeah. And are you a knitting continental or do you knit English style?
I'm English style.
Yeah, same.
I want to be able to do continent, and I think if I had learned to crochet first, I
Hmm.
feel like continental might have made more sense. Whereas I learned to knit first.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same. I've tried continental and I'm so much slower when I work continental. And I'm what they call a thrower. So I fully
Okay.
move my right hand over to move
Same.
the
I
yarn
knit and I'm
around.
like, yeah, I don't do like
Yeah.
the pick with a finger. I like hold the yarn and I'm
Yeah,
like,
same. That's
yeah,
called a thrower.
yeah, okay. I'm an English thrower then for
Yeah.
me. Yeah, I taught my son to knit last weekend, and he picked it up so quickly. It was
Yeah.
wild to me how like young kids, when you teach them something, they just get it. And
Yeah.
he learned how to. I mean, he just did like a very simple cast on, and then he just like started knit. He ended up casting on I think 8 stitches, and he was just like knitting back and forth. And I was like, damn, okay, like you could knit a scarf if you wanted to. So
Yeah.
he really enjoyed it, which was
That's
nice. It was like made me
amazing.
happy. I was like, yes, we got another knitter.
Yeah. Proud moment.
Yeah. It's been so nice to actually see so many messages come in about Game of Wool where some kids have learned how to knit like as young as like 7 years old up to, some teenagers that have been knitting. And I just think it's great to be able to get a new generation
Yeah,
involved in
definitely.
knitting and off of screens and being able to do something that's like really meaningful and by hand where every stitch is like made with love and every stitch is like something that's really like perfectly imperfect in its own way. And I think that's something really exciting that I'm hoping that we can get more young people involved in knitting for sure.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed there's a lot of young people coming into the shop that know how to knit or crochet and the parents don't. And
Mm.
the children are saying, don't worry, mum, or don't worry, dad, I'll teach you. So it's
Wow.
almost like the roles have been reversed a little bit as
Yeah.
well, with some of the younger kids learning from things like YouTube. And what are you working on at the moment?
So I literally just finished the Christmas stockings. So
Yeah.
I cast onto my needles yesterday. I'm making a jumper for my niece, and soon to be nephew that's due in January. I'm making them a matching
Exciting.
set that's got like little brother, little sister on it,
Oh,
and doing like a
cute.
little brother, big sister on it, so that it's yeah, so they have this matching like thing where like one's one color and then the writing on it is going to be the opposite to the other person,
Yeah.
you know. So it's like a so that's what I'm working on right now.
Yeah. Are you knitting many Christmas presents then?
No, I'm actually waiting for some yarn to arrive. I'm waiting for some I have some red yarn coming, so I might make some kind of red jumper for Christmas. So I feel like I need something. I need to make some. I haven't made a Christmas jumper this year, and I normally make one every year. So
Yeah.
um that'll I think that's going to be my project to finish in time for Christmas.
Yeah. You've not got long.
I know. Well, you know me, I'll be in chunky. That's the thing. With my chunky jumpers, I literally made a jumper in 2 days. So it's very like, which is nice because I could, my plan is to make all four of us the same jumper. So
So you've got some hardcore knitting time ahead of
I've
you.
got some hardcore knitting time ahead of me, but I reckon each jumper will take me about 10 hours. So I think
Okay.
I can do it. I can
Yeah.
do it.
I believe in you.
Or maybe I'll just do some sweater vests.
You could
Yeah.
always sort of do the bodies of the jumper, and then if there's
And see
time,
what
add
time.
sleeves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe that's probably the smartest
Mm.
thing to do.
Yeah, because then you've got a way out otherwise if
Yeah,
you don't have enough
exactly.
time.
Yeah.
And it can you
True.
can make it look like it's meant to be like that.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
might just go with
This
that.
was the plan the whole time.
Exactly. I mean, you mentioned your shop. Like, what are you working on at the moment? Do you have a current whip, or is it all getting the shop sorted?
It is quite a lot of getting the shop sorted. I have actually got a whip at the moment, so I'm
Okay.
working on just a little stripy, super chunky cardigan number.
Cute.
So yeah, nothing too exciting, but I'm working on that as and when I get time because we're currently in the process of moving from our small yarn shop in Torquay to a much bigger yarn shop in Torquay.
Okay.
So I'm spending my weekends painting and decorating and documenting the whole process as well. So
Okay.
yeah, it's taken quite a lot of time, but it's really exciting. Well, it's been great talking all things knitting, crochet, yarn, and game of wool with you, Tom. And I can't wait to watch the rest of the series and hopefully the next series as well.
Well, fingers crossed. Thank you for having me. And yeah, we'll be back every Sunday till Christmas at 8 p.m. Channel 4.